Hey everyone. So thanks for having me. Thanks for just being here and listening. I don't speak much, so it's really cool for me and exciting. So I really appreciate that. So I'm going to talk about navigating within a file, primarily in Vim. There's two reasons I want to talk about that. The first is I think that as a beginner and you're learning Vim, thinking back to me, it's really hard to just do anything if you're not comfortable moving around in a file. I remember when I gave up my mouse, I felt really claustrophobic without the scroll wheel. It was pretty easy for me to get to where I wanted to go, but then to see everything I wanted to see was really difficult. Additionally, I have this theory that for sort of more proficient people using Vim, it's really easy to plateau with your knowledge, right? Once you could do what you want to do, you just do it, right? So if you could do it in 3 commands instead of 1, it's good enough, right? So there's no reason to take the 5 minutes and look it up on Google. So I just want to go over sort of a lot of really basic commands. So if you're really great at Vim, maybe you'll know them all, but I have a feeling everyone will learn 1 or 2. So now everyone will have sort of no excuse for not knowing them. My name's Daniel. I work at a small digital events agency. I work primarily in Rails all day, so I'll be working around a .rb file in the demos. If you have any feedback's really great. I really love it. Just tell me after. That would be helpful, or you could always tweet at me. You can find me at Twitter, Common Nighthawk, CMMN. All right, so let's pop over to Vim. So we'll start with a super fun quiz. I'm going to ask a lot of questions, and if people want to just shout out answers, that would be really helpful. And Vim sometimes is tough where I'm typing and you can't see what I'm typing, so just shout out, just interrupt me, and we'll do it again. All right, so let's start with a question. Say I wanted to get the bottom line on the screen to the middle of the screen, and I want my cursor to be there. So I want line 22 to be on the middle of the screen, and that's where I want my cursor to be. Can anyone do that?
Capital LZZ.
Capital LZZ, that's right. Does anyone have another way? I thought of another 3 keystroke command. Shift G ZZ. Is that what you said?
Yeah, wasn't it bottom of the line?
It's the bottom of the screen, so line 22.
ZH.
So the screen is, the file's 200 lines long.
What happens if you do Control D?
Control B? I have no idea.
Control D.
Control F.
Control D. Is that what you said?
Control D is half the screen, but Control D or F is a whole screen.
That's right.
Across.
Yeah, full is a whole screen. So the other way I was thinking about doing it, which we were just getting to, was Control D M. So M just to move the cursor after Control D. So if those seem like, obviously some people know how to do it. If they seem a little bit magical, that's okay. We'll get to them in 2 slides, and we'll go over them. Hopefully that'll sort of be motivation for everything. Because, you should be able to do that. If you want to get the bottom of the line to the middle of the screen, you can do that really easily in Sublime. So it shouldn't be, something complex to do in Vim. All right, so starting with the most basic commands, Linewise navigations. So I'm sure if you're cool enough to go to a Vim meetup, you know these. So J to go down a line, K to go up a line. You'll notice the screen doesn't move when I do that, but it will when I'm off the screen, which will have some implications later. To get to the bottom of the file, capital G. To get to the top of the file, GG. Obviously, what makes Vim great is with all the commands, you can set a number in front of it. So if I want to get to line 50, 50, GG. All right, so now that was sort of navigating around the file at large, but say we wanted to navigate around the screen. So if I wanted to get to the last line on the screen, does anyone know how to do that? We covered it before. What's that?
$?
No. So we'll get to that. $ is important. It's getting line-wise navigation. So L gets you to the last line on the screen. Capital L, thank you. Capital M gets you to the middle line on the screen, and H gets you to the top of the line of the screen. So the mnemonics for that are high, middle, low. So L low, M middle, H high. I think the G commands get sort of all the press. These are super important to know and super useful. And there's really no reason not to know them. Are there any questions about any of this? Cool. So now we'll go over shifting around on the screen, which was something that these commands were really helpful to me. I don't know why they're not Vim Tutor or more publicized, but they're really important. All right, so say I get down, so let's say I want to work on the apricot method. I search for it, and now I'm on it. But it's on the bottom of the screen, which is pretty inconvenient. So if I want to center that, I hit ZZ to get it to the middle of the screen. That's a command I use a lot. I get to where I want to go, and then I center it. I really need to see what's above and below where I'm working. So that one's really helpful. I believe Z dot also works. I have less occasion to use that. So similar commands are ZT, puts your current line on the top of the screen, which is really great. A lot of times, you'll search for private and then ZT, see everything below it. ZB gets the line you're working on to the bottom of the screen. I think that's less of a use case, but probably good to know all three. All right, so say I'm working on this apricot method, but now I want to shift the screen down one line or two lines, but I want to keep the cursor where it is. Does anyone know how to do that? That's right, Control E. So when I was first learning, I'd go down J and then back J, and that sucks, right? So Control E will do exactly what we want to do, and Control Y is the inverse of that. I think of E standing for end, gets you to the end a little bit. I don't know what Y stands for.
Control E also takes account, so you can say for Control E to jump down 4 lines and keep the cursor the same.
That's right, they both take account. So right, 10 Control E does what we want to do. Those are really helpful for one-offs and when you get to the method and the last line of the method just isn't on the screen. All right, so if we want to jump by things bigger than that, we could use Control D will take us down half a screen at a time. You'll see that no matter what, the cursor moves. So even if there's enough room for the cursor not to move, Control D moves the screen down half and moves the cursor down that much. D for down, U for up. So Control D and U are great for sort of thumbing through half a screen at a time. And then to make bigger moves, Control F will take you down one full screen at a time, and B for backward. So if you open a file and you don't know exactly where you need to go, but you sort of want to thumb through it somewhere to the scroll wheel, either Control D or Control F are going to be your best bets. I find these really jarring. I find it not so helpful to follow. So just a quick plug for Smooth Scroll is a plugin I use. It sort of animates it as it goes down so you can keep a little bit better track because I tend to get lost. It just looks like sort of discontinued screens to me. Oh, so the result of our game should now make sense. So I think Mike's first answer was LZZ. So L to take you to the bottom of the screen, ZZ to center it. And then the other three character thing I came up with was Control D, takes us down half a screen, which is the same as moving the bottom of the screen to the middle of the screen, and then just getting the cursor to where we want. M, we'll put it in the middle. Any questions about moving around the screen? Cool. All right, so now we'll do within a line navigation, which we touched on a little bit. So to get to the beginning of the line, does anyone know? 0, great. To get to the end of the line, $. Perfect. So does anyone know first non-blank character on the line?
Carrot.
Great. Does anyone know last non-blank character of the line?
There's never a training question.
But there is. It's G underscore. Yeah, I think caret will solve almost all of your use cases instead of 0. For some reason, 0 seems more popular, so caret's really good to know. Unless for some reason you want to delete indentation, but even then you should do it a better way. There aren't that many use cases for G underscore. Obviously, $sign's great. I've had one a lot where I'll paste in some text from Stack Overflow, and it'll have all these errant white spaces and the spacing's really off. So all of these commands are also really good for writing macros. So I'll write a macro. So there is trailing white space here in this line. So QQ to start a macro, G underscore, then I'll move to the right, and then D $sign to delete to the end of the line. Then I'll move down a line and quit the macro. So if I want to run that back at Q, we'll do it again. And then I could just keep doing that. So that's been really helpful for when I have 20 lines that come in from Stack Overflow and my Vim file gets really, really slow actually because it's probably like thousands of white space. I couldn't find a better way to do that. Doing a little research, apparently find and replace is probably a little bit smarter. I think some people in their VimRC have delete all trailing white space when they save their files. But this worked nicely for me, and I didn't know G underscore was a thing for a while, so wanted to share that. So those are all really helpful for writing macros, one thing that you need to consider, right, when you go down a line, a lot of times you'll start a macro with the caret or something to get you to where you want to be before you begin, because if you write a macro when you're before the thing, then you go down a line, and then you're after the thing, you need to always worry about resetting. But if you use any of these, you don't need to be worried about resetting, right? Because if you're before or after the first line, caret will always get you to the first character in the line. All right, so those were all the navigating within a file. This is just some extra fun stuff. So say I'm all the way down here, but instead of jumping to line 10, I want to get 10% down the file. Does anyone know that command? So it's just n%, so 10% will take you there. What the use cases are, I don't know. I just discovered it, and I was surprised I'd never seen it or heard of it before. Sort of cool. You know where you want to be is like 90% down, and you could just hop there.
Wait, that's an actual command, so you're like colon 10%. How are you doing it?
It's just n followed by percent, so without anything preceding it. Yeah, so like instead of GG, you replace the GG with percent. So 5% gets us right there. Yeah, it seems so like I would have hit it by accident almost. It's just, it sits like right on top and no one talks about it. So one great command that I would guess most Vim users know is the asterisk. What the asterisk does is it searches for the word that you're currently on and it takes you to the next occurrence of it. So I have highlight search on, so you'll see all the occurrences of true get me there. So what I'll do a lot is I'll hit asterisk and then I'll hit the big N to move backwards. I think asterisk sort of gets all the credit for this type of search, but what pound does is it does the same thing but asterisk but in reverse. So if you want to go to the previous occurrence of something, just hit asterisk and that'll take you right there. All right, so the next thing is not really about navigating around in a file, but I just think it's really important and I'm surprised how little it's talked about. So there are word-wide motions that everyone knows about. But it brings you to the question quickly of what is a word. So E takes you to the end of a word. So if I hit E throughout this, you'll notice that it breaks a lot. Breaks not as in fails, but just stops. So what we learn is that words are hyphen delineated. They're also period delineated and exclamation point delineated. But if we jump down to this word and we type E, it jumps to the end, right? So it just begs the question, what is a word? And they're delineated by a very specific set of symbols that you could look up, and I think they're fairly intuitive. But what if I want to act on this entire thing as a word? What if I want to delete this in one go? So if I type DW, it doesn't work if I want to delete till the end. But if I type DI big W, that does. So basically, in Vim, there's a difference between small words and big words. So W stands for small word, capital W stands for big word. And the same goes for E and B. So if I want to delete this entire thing if I want to delete to the end of this in one go, DW doesn't do it, but D big W does do it. Does that make sense? So really helpful is just, DI big W. I use that a lot because obviously classes are period delineated and things like that. Cool. All right, the very last thing I'll go over are marks. I think some people are a little intimidated by marks, but they're super easy. So I wanted to just go over them very quickly. So say we are, let's use a new method. Say we're working the BlackBerry method. We keep coming back to it, right? We do something down at the bottom of the file and we keep coming back to it. So one thing I used to do was I'd say, okay, it's on line 57. Try to remember that. I'll go back to line 57. That's a terrible way of doing it. So you could set a mark, M to set a mark, followed by whatever register you want to put it in. So MM is fairly common, the same way Q is common for macros, just because you hit the same key. But you could put it in the A register if you wanted. So let me put MM here. So I've set a mark called M on this line, on this space. Now if I go down to the file and I'm doing something down here and I'm ready to go back, I hit backtick M. That takes me exactly to where I set the mark. If I set the mark in the A register, it would be backtick A. Going back down here again, if instead of backtick M, I hit single apostrophe M, that takes me to the first character in the line where the mark was set. So depending on your use case, you could use either of those. lowercase letters are reserved for specific to the file. Capital letters are reserved for within files. So if you wanted to set a mark capital V in your vimrc, you could pop to it from any other file. This is everything. I'm sure it's not helpful now, but I think it'll be a good cheat sheet, and I'll get the slides online. And that's it. I'm curious if anyone knew all of them. Yeah. I didn't hear G underscore.
Yeah, I did not know G underscore. It's the only one.
Cool. So this time I was going to open up for a few minutes. If anyone has any great commands I missed, I'd love to hear them, and I'm sure the group would. And if there's any questions, please let me know. Yeah.
I'm using like F and T a lot for finding like Linewise.
Yeah.
Like T will put you right before the match, right? F will put you on the match.
That's
So
right.
a lot of times when you can add on like different commands, you can be like delete to T whatever, so DT like L, delete everything up to the first occurrence of L just before it, right? I
Yeah.
think that's pretty cool.
You're right. I like that a lot. Just to go over it in case anyone missed it. So F takes you to the occurrence, including it, and T takes you right before it. So I have BlackBerry and JDKF sort of comma separated right now. If I do DF comma, it deletes everything including the comma. And that would be great, right, if I, instead of just deleting this word and then going forward. But the inverse of that is DT comma, if I wanted to save the comma, which is helpful depending on what you're working with.
And piggybacking on that is semicolon and comma.
Yes. That's right. So FF basically puts somewhere that the last thing I line-wise searched for was F. So I hit semicolon to move forward, and I hit comma to move back. And that's good because it stays in the register too. So if I was up here, I had another false, and I wanted to get to the last one, comma will take me there.
One of the things I use a lot is the squigglies or curly braces, which will jump per paragraph, which is really handy when you jump in between them.
Cool. What do you use that for? I sort of see the like English language ones and are a little dismissive of them.
Well, even here, I can jump from BlackBerry to Blueberry with just hitting squiggly.
Yeah, so like D
Ooh.
curly will delete Blueberry.
Wait, so hit curly brace from here?
Go to 40 and do a D close curly.
Are you including just vanilla keybind? Just the vanilla key?
There are no plugins involved.
Just the vanilla, not including, say, the surround?
That's right. I actually opened it with no vimrc, just so it's applicable for all operating systems. And oh, so that's cool. So it's like blank line delineated.
Exactly.
Yeah, it jumps per paragraph. Paragraph can be configured to be something, but in normal, the paragraph is from vanilla to line, some block of text until the next time.
Cool. I like that. Thank you.
Similarly, there's the bracket matcher.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that one's good.
I love
Not
that.
as useful in Ruby, but pretty useful in general.
It's amazing to see.
You can do it in Ruby with like 2 and stuff, I believe, right?
It's possible, but no one
There's
is.
a plugin.
I guess, yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Ruby or something.
If you don't match it, which comes bundled, you can jump between two.
I can, I just have a ton of matches, so.
So this is the percent command. It matches. I don't even know how to describe them. Sort of equal and opposite pairs with sort of curly braces and parentheses and I think quotes as well. So if I want to jump to the beginning or the end, and same with that. It's the percent key. Cool.
When you talk about marks, there are some marks that are automatically set for you. The one I use all the time is dot. So backtick dot will go to the last place you made an edit.
Mm-hmm.
Which, when you're doing the kind of thing where you're like, I'm editing a method and then editing a read somewhere, something somewhere else, and then just backtick dot gets you back to where you made the last edit.
That's right. And I think backtick takes you to before you made the last jump. Is that right?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I don't find that very helpful because J and K are not jumps. The jump list is a little counterintuitive to me. But yeah, those are really good.
And then for Control O and Control N, right, to go back and
Control O, Control I.
Oh, yeah, out and in, right?
Outline.
Yeah.
That just goes back through your jumper register. So that,
Yeah,
yeah.
so if you're like jumping something back and forth, that's another way to kind of go through.
One thing about that I just came to think about is that you most of the time toggle in between files, like you're toggling if you test in your implementation.
Mm-hmm.
If you do colon edit pound sign, you toggle between your those two the recent files.
Really?
What do you do?
Colon edit pound sign.
Edit pound sign?
Yeah.
I do V pound sign. Does the
Which-
same thing,
yes.
back and forth, right?
Hmm.
It's weird, but.
Okay, that could be different from B
I don't know what
prev
it actually
based
does.
on right the order. It's not the last.
It
B prev
also-
isn't the last
it-
edited. It's like the
also
order of
to
them.
The recent files you hadn't been in.
Colon E pound sign is the same as Control 6.
Or control shifts.
Cool. I definitely didn't know that.
Okay.
Is that pound sign meaning octogonal?
Yes, the original one that you guys invented, not the later one that you guys invented.
Not the symbol for sterling.
Right, that's the later one.
Hashtags.
Cool.